Okay, so this is my 5th ride on Drifter, and I've already lunged him, which was the free lunging in the last video, and I divided my ride into 2 parts. So this first part is just walking and jogging, and working more on steering, as well as following the rail. So I always lunge before I ride, at least with these young horses. You know, when they're seasoned older horses, you don't always need to do that, but it's I think it's just a good idea to get their energy out and get them listening to you. I honestly wouldn't feel safe just like hopping on a young horse. I think that's probably not a wise idea. So doing some groundwork at the very least, but I like to lunge and then do a little groundwork and then hop on. So we're still in the round pen at this point. We haven't moved to the big arena, because I don't feel like his steering is ready for that yet. You'll see in this ride he does this cute thing where he stops and turns his head toward me, and I think he is asking me, like, can we be done? Are we done here? Because I've been practicing emergency stops where I tell him to whoa and then I pull his head to one side. And it's a good thing to practice, because emergency stops are very important for your horse to know how to do. But so I don't know if he's like just remembering that and he's like, hey, maybe if I turn my head to this side, I'll get to stop. I don't know. But he is definitely on the lazy side, which I don't mind. I'd rather have it that way. And you'll see, like, so here's a good example. I don't know if I talked about this in the last video, but I'm purposefully letting him make that mistake. So I'm letting him stop and turn his head to the middle. And then I'm asking him to correct that mistake by continuing to walk forward. The reason I let him do that is because I want him to learn that it's actually more work to stop and turn his head and then be corrected than it is to just keep walking. You know, it's always a judgment call, so sometimes I will correct it sooner, but especially in the beginning when they are doing behaviors that you don't want, you want to make it clear that that's not what you want. You don't want to just correct it before it happens. So a lot of times, especially at the beginning of this video, I'll let him stop, turn his head in, and then I'll ask him to keep going. So I think he just did it. Oh, no, maybe I asked him to stop there. I must have asked him to stop. Let's see what I do next. I recorded this a couple days ago, so I don't remember exactly what I did. Okay, it looks like I'm asking him to turn. So working on steering here, we're kind of like going all over the place. Ideally, I want him to make a 90-degree turn, walk straight across the arena, and then make another 90-degree turn. You might see me like leaning to one side, and I'm really exaggerating where I'm putting my body weight at this point. This is something I learned from a Mustang trainer in Colorado. So they respond really well to like where you shift your weight. And if I'm turning to, I don't know if I'm asking him to turn or not. I think I did ask him to turn and then he just wanted to stop. But if let's say you want him to turn to the left, shift your weight into the right hip, and that kind of forces them just naturally to bring their body under you. So anyway, if you see me kind of like tilting to one side, I'm doing that on purpose, and it's an exaggerated motion. Once he gets better at turning, I'll have to do that less and less, but everything is exaggerated at this point because I want him to really feel the difference and feel what I'm asking for. And honestly, sometimes I forget to do it, or I don't exaggerate it as much as I should. But that's what I'm doing here. So this one, he ended up walking at the start. It was a little kind of disorganized, but then he ended up walking kind of straight. Can't remember if I'm going to make him do it more or if I ask him to trot. Working on turning more. Yeah, he really wants to stop. There, it's hard for young horses to walk straight across an arena because they don't understand. Like, I think, the first step is getting them used to following the rail, but then you're asking them to get off the rail, and they feel like they don't have any, they have no idea exactly what you want. And so you have to gently just kind of guide them and pretend that your legs and your hands are kind of like rails for them to just walk in between. And eventually they get it, but I think it's not intuitive for them to begin with. He wanted to stop again. Keeps looking over like, Mom, can we please be done? So I'm not getting upset at him. I'm just telling him that that's not what we're doing right now. And he wanted to come in on his own, and I just gently corrected back to the rail. So this is one of the first exercises I start with. So when I first hop on a horse, I just let them go wherever in the round pen. I'm just happy if they're walking forward with me on their back and they're not, freaking out. Even if they are freaking out, I let them freak out as long as I feel safe until they calm down. But ideally, a first ride, I'm just up there, they're walking wherever they want to walk, and it's a calm, enjoyable situation for them. But second and third ride, and then, onward after that, I'm asking them to follow the rail, and that's kind of the first steering exercise. So every time they kind of drift off the rail, you just gently use your legs and reins to guide them back to the rail. And then asking them to do this 90-degree turn and walk across the round pen, that's like the second steering exercise. So I suppose, follow the rail is first steering. So we're on to the second steering exercise at this point. I must have asked him to stop that time because I think I'm petting him. It is important to stop, after you've worked on something and they do a good job of it a couple times. I think it's important. I try to stop, let them reset, tell them they did a good job, let them have that reward, and let their brain kind of rest for a second before I move on to the next thing. I think I'm going to ask for the trot here shortly. You can see how slow he's walking. He's just such a lazy boy. Yeah, there we go. So he picked that trot up pretty nicely. I was happy about that. He's still not, you can tell he's not super comfortable with it. His head's kind of up high, and he starts out pretty fast. He has like no speed control at this point, or like no speed balance, I would say. He starts out really fast, and then he like slows down really quickly and wants to stop. But that'll just come with time. That's not something I'm gonna work on right now. See, I let him break gait. That's really important. Letting him make the mistake. Letting him break gait down to a walk, and then asking him for the trot again. So that's something that kind of goes against all of the things I was taught back as a kid when I was showing, because you never want, your horse to break gait in a show. But when you're training, at least my philosophy has changed in that I don't want to have to babysit that horse. And looking back, I was constantly babysitting my show horse. I was constantly had my leg on and off her, trying to prevent her from breaking gait. But I realized if you train a horse correctly, you shouldn't have to do that. So when I am starting a horse, I call it the cruise control method. So if I ask for a gait, their job is to stay in that gait until I ask them to either come down or speed up. So I ask once, they go into that gait, and they should stay there without me asking again or continuing to ask. Now, the only way to teach that is to let them make mistakes, and when they break gait, you let them break gait, and then you ask them again. And eventually they learn it's actually just easier for them to stay in whatever gait that you ask for versus constantly break gait and then have you bumping their sides or using the rein. Eventually they learn to just stay in the gait that you ask. Looks like he tried to stop again there. Just gently corrected. I really like how relaxed he is. Right now his head is pretty low. I mean, honestly, he's been pretty relaxed since the moment I got on him, my very first ride. The only time he shows signs of kind of nervousness or excitement is at the trot, which is fine. He'll get more used to it. But he seems very comfortable at the walk, which is nice. So again, I'm just asking him to follow the rail at this point. He's like, "Are you sure we should keep going?" Oh, maybe I asked him to stop, actually. Kind of looks like I asked him to stop. He kept walking, and then I asked him to stop again. And now I'm asking him to walk. So same thing at the stop. If you ask a horse to stop and they do, but then they start walking off again before you wanted them to, let them make that mistake. So let them walk off, but then pull their head around. You can even, if they're really walking off from a stop without you asking them to, you can even spin them in a forehand turn and then ask them to stop. And basically, the age-old saying is make the wrong thing hard, the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard. So walking off from a stop is the wrong thing to do. So you make it harder by making them spin around in a forehand turn. And pretty soon they learn the easier thing to do is just stand still like you asked them to. So he picked up this trot pretty nicely. And then I think I get distracted by someone stopping and chatting, so I'm gonna end the video here.